right? Okay, so here we are in the Altadena fire zone, and we're standing in front of Sandra's home, which is a really innovative implementation of a concept that probably has never been done before anywhere in the United States, as far as we know. Okay, so executive order was issued by Newsom to allow for RVs to be used as housing on a temporary basis for a period of 3 years in the burn zones. This one company, Clever Tiny Homes, maybe one or two other companies out there, are able to certify their homes to be modular ADUs, but also RVs, park model RVs. So under the Newsom order, in order to facilitate the rapid adoption of easy housing while homes were being rebuilt, this house was installed as an RV, but will, if I understand correctly, subsequently perhaps be converted to a modular ADU and put on a foundation down the road. And that's about all I'm going to say as far as context, but I'd love to hear your story about everything that happened from living on this property to the burn and how you came across this concept yourself.
Okay, yeah. So, of course, the fire happened, and no one expected it. There been many fires, but no one expected it to actually come down into this neighborhood. So when I was told to evacuate, I only took my purse, my cat, and my medicine. So then, of course, I had to rent an apartment. I was in the apartment for 9 months, and during that time, I was, overwhelmed with all the insurance and FEMA and this and that, and I was very unhappy in the rental because I had lived here for almost 50 years, and it was really my home. It was 100 years old, and I wanted to think about some way of getting back without rebuilding, because rebuilding takes probably up to 2 years. And at 88, I thought, I'll never get back. So then in my investigation, I found out about tiny homes. I researched tiny homes, and what I really liked about Clever was the design, the detail, the specs, the way in which they thought of everything in the way of materials. They didn't uh, you know, try to save money by getting lesser parts, the equipment, everything about it. Engineering-wise, it's fantastic. And so that was inspiring, and I said, why not? So when I found out that they were giving temporary permits, and I could get a temporary power pole, I was still on septic, so I'm connected to my septic tank. It took me 2 weeks. I got the permit right away. I had to have the septic inspected, and then I had water. So in 2 weeks, I was ready to do site prep, and the permit's good for 5 years, and it was very inexpensive. The permit was around $525 or something. It cost me very little money. So then I had the site prepped and graded and gravel and everything put down, and I ordered it. It took some time to get it, and the nice thing about the story is I was scheduled to get it actually in January of this year, but there was a fire captain retired in Ojai who had ordered the same model, and he switched with me. So I was able to get it before Christmas. So my Christmas present was I was back on my property. So I was thrilled, and because it's a flag lot, so normally it would have had to been craned in, but because there was nothing here, they were able to just pull it in. So that saved a lot of money. So anyway, I'm very happy, contented, and I don't know. This is my son Steven's here from Texas for a week, and he's going to take over the build. So whatever that's why it's not permanent, because we don't know what's going to be in
So
the future.
we're gonna pepper you with a bunch of questions. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So how much did this unit cost? How much did the infrastructure
The unit
cost?
base price was $129, and I was given $10,000 discount. It was also in a summer type sale. I was able to negotiate a few extras in there, and then I wanted to go solar and off grid because I didn't know what was going to go on here. So, and I knew they were going to do underground wiring. That was all up in there, so I paid extra for that. So I ended up paying around $170.
Okay.
Solar was $15,000, but that allows you to go off grid. So I'm on solar, and I only use the power pole when I don't have solar or when it.
And you got how much battery storage then?
Yeah, I'm not really off grid. I'm connected to the pole. So, but if I put my generator that came with it, I could be completely off grid. But I chose to hook up to the pole.
And you mentioned you were on septic. Is this system tied to the municipal? Is it
No,
a sewer
this
system or it's septic?
Right in this block, all the properties have septic.
Okay.
And you were before you were on septic?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, they're going to put sewer in the street, it turns out, as a result of the fire. So that will happen. And underground wiring is slated for this area.
And was I right to say that this will eventually, say in 5 years or so, turn into an ADU to the primary house?
It'll be an ADU, yes.
Yeah. So this is, you said the base price is like $129 in order to be a modular ADU. If it had not been a modular ADU and just been an RV, I think that cost is like $10,000 or $15,000 less if it's not permitted as a modular ADU.
I'm not sure about that. They have a smaller model that's less.
Yeah.
But I think this model
Is
starts
$129?
at $129.
Okay.
But you got it as the wheeled version.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this is the first one off the line that's dual certified.
And then could you tell us a little bit about like the insurance / like financing piece of this, which is
Yeah,
interesting
okay, so,
for us?
So basically, what had to happen was, it was very complicated. This is being paid for now in lieu of the rent, loss of use rent, which the insurance is paying. And because it was a natural disaster, instead of paying for 24 months, they have to pay for 36. But you still have a limit. So they gave me my limit, and it turns out that I used 9 months of that for the rental, but I have enough left to probably almost pay for this. So that's why I have to leave it as it is. One reason. The other is that I had to have my son purchase it, even though he purchased it with my insurance monies, and lease it to me in order for the insurance to pay.
So that it's still classified as a rental.
They're fine with it.
Yeah.
You know, they approved it. They're paying it. I don't know why we had to do that, but that's a little known. That's not widely. They're not going to tell you about that, but we were referred to a retired expert, and he advised me that I should do that. I'm going, really?
Well, you're probably the first person to ever do it.
Really? He said yes, really. So that's what's going on. So basically, it's paying for itself from the insurance, which is amazing. I mean, but anyway.
Are you aware of anybody else who is currently doing anything like that in the Altadena
Oh yeah,
neighborhood?
It's slow to take off. That people don't know about it. They don't know what it is. They're not familiar with it. So now, for instance, this company is setting up a unit for display for a few weeks in a vacant lot or something. and it's getting publicity, but not enough. But it's a real solution because, you know, for anyone, even if you're going to build, I mean, you can. Why rent? Why pay $3,000-4,000 a month for an apartment when you can have this?
Is there any changes that you think what's the broader like kind of message or application that you think your story has to say about the potential for other people to do this?
Well, I'm 88, right? So I have to look at my future, you know, and am I going to be able to stay here, or am I going to have to go to assisted living? I'm pretty mobile, but I have problems, and this is all, you know, ADU, and I mean it's all ADA as far as what I did. I didn't do everything, but I just ordered a electric wheelchair that will go in here if I need it. So I don't need it right now, but I'm thinking I'm going to have it so that when I do need it, like if I went on a long outing, I would take it.
And so,
I needed it to be able to navigate in here. So I've ordered one that will.
refresh our memory on what was the timeline from the point you came to the realization you could do this and this house being delivered here? How many months was that?
Let's see, I would say like from July to November.
And how long will it take for you to build a house?
Well, that's all up in the air. I mean, we don't even have the plan done, so we're not sure what we're going to build. So, but this allowed us to slow down and not be pressured, because everything that's going on with the underground wiring and all that, you have to make decisions. Are you going to go on septic, or you're going to wait for the sewer, or you're going to, you know, so there's considerations to building that you have to consider.
Have you considered the possibility that in 5 years you might say, you know what, now the primary house is done, we don't actually want this, we're just going to sell it?
No, I'll never leave this. I'm happy here. I can manage this. I can't manage a house anymore. I'm too old. So I have caregiving 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know, I need it. So I want to be able to be as active and as independent as I can be, as long as I can be. And I'm happy here. I won't be happy in assisted living, I'll be honest. I won't be happy anywhere but here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that, but it's how I feel about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I like this. This is my choice of living here. When I was born in Zanesville, Ohio, where Zane Grey was born. Well, in grade school, my hero was Zane Grey, and when I found out he lived in Altadena, my goal was to live in Altadena, and my dream came true. So I'm here because it was my dream to be here, and this is my home, and I don't want to be anywhere else. And I think you'll see when you go in how workable it is.
Yeah.
It's better. It has a better kitchen and a better bathroom than I had at my house.
Yeah.
It has more convenience than my house. It has better equipment than I had in my house.
What would you tell people who are thinking of this, or that
I would
could
say
do something
visit
like this?
some and talk to the people who live in them. You know, I mean, for me at 88, it's fantastic because you know I saved all my plants. You can see what came back on its own.
Yeah.
I'm replacing what I had. These are my 2 new tangerine trees that I had before. I'm doing that. I'm replacing my avocado tree. I'm replacing certain things because I want to feel at home. I did the same thing inside. I replaced those things that I use all the time that make me feel like I'm home, and it works. I didn't have to buy something else or adjust to something else. I have everything that I am used to using in my home. That's what I did, and it feels so so nice. If I had to wait 2 years or 3 years for a build, I might pass.
Where was your rental apartment?
What?
Where was the rental apartment you were in for 9 months?
It was a converted garage that burned down. I had the ADU, yeah, it was a converted garage.
Did you have a question?
Yeah,
I suggest you go in and have a look.
Thank you so much,
Make yourself at
Sandra.
home in there. If you have, I'll go in with you. So if you have questions,
And yeah, so like,
this is flagstone I rescued from the property. My rose bushes I rescued. Eventually, when it's permanent, it'll be moved a little forward, probably. I don't have a ramp because I don't need it, but I could have a ramp, and then this will be another thing. Kitty, are you going in or out? This is Lena, my cat.
Lena.
And as you can see when you come in, my son is visiting. So he's happy on the couch, which is like a extra long twin bed.
look at that.
Yeah,
Ooh, it's comfortable in here.
yes. I had to have a desk. So this is my desk.
Yep.
I have 2 stools here at the counter. I use one here. And just make yourselves at home, walk around. I'll sit here
Yeah.
for questions.
Okay.
Make yourself at home, open the drawers, open
Your Delaware is beautiful.
the... Yeah, I love this. Good for you. No one needs. I couldn't afford this device in my young days.
Beautiful.
But it works so well.
The art is nice too.
Thank you. You can open the drawers, do whatever you need to do. I don't mind. But I've maxed it out more or less for my own use.
Do you know what the square footage of a unit is?
I think isn't it around
It's 400.
400 or
Yeah.
a little over 400?
Yeah, it's park model RV, which
428
are
or
limited
something
to
like
400
that.
square feet.
It's yeah.
Yeah. So it's I think is this
It's 11
12?
and a half by 38.
11 and a half wide by 38. Okay. And then unit, I think it's 13 feet high,
yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it called? You said a park what?
A park model RV is it's a type of recreational vehicle.
I see.
So this is classified as a park model.
It's a park model RV. It's dual
But dual
certified,
certified,
so it's
yeah.
also a modular ADU. It's built to the modular ADU standards, such that
This counter here is on wheels. You
Oh,
can,
nice,
You
I
can
see
roll
that.
it.
Oh, I see
You-
that, yeah.
uh-huh.
If this wasn't here and you wanted to have a buffet, you could move that over there. It's very well designed.
Yeah.
I leave it here so I can have a desk.
I'm going to go out so someone else can come
And
in.
of course, I've had to have the cat tree.
Of course.
Everyone goes, really? The cat has more amenities than I do. Yeah, the cat really has all her goodies here.
I love your pottery.
Thank
It's
you.
just
Thank
beautiful,
you.
and your art is really
Thank you
lovely.
very much. I love to get art prints because I get to have what I want
What you want, right?
that I can't afford for real money. Thank you.
I'm gonna step outside, but if you, thank you so much. If you don't come back out, this is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I want to say 12 feet wide, the new trailer's 15 feet wide. And then, so it's got a stairwell that goes up, and then you can stack 2 on top of each other. And then we'll slide this one forward and then put in the 2-car garage there in the back corner. So that's kind of the vision right now on the vision board. But like I said, now that she's here, we got time. We're not rushed because we're not living in someone else's house paying all the rent money and insurance money going to them. reinvesting it in her own future.
And then, if you don't mind telling us, did you get a payout from insurance already, or are you still haggling about that?
Well, it's been incremental, so we've got in payments over time, right? So we got, for an initial, some initial money just to kind of get started, and then they paid out on, the loss of the property, but it was not enough, so we had to contest that and get a rebuild estimate. And then there's been other payments, like she said, talked about for the loss of use. Also, in her old house, she had converted the garage to an ADU, so she had a renter in there, so she had loss of rent as well. So not only did she lose the rental income, she had lost her husband like 2 years before, so she lost his income. So it was just a bad situation all the way around. So we were real happy that this was a viable option for us. And like I said, the fact that we were able to get, it permitted as a RV and insured as an RV made it a lot more economically viable.
Yeah, what was the do you know what the monthly insurance note is for the RV? Roughly?
We pay it every 6 months, so I want to say it's like $900 every 6 months,
Okay.
so like $1,800 maybe.
Yeah.
But that also includes coverage of the solar system. It's going to vary, I'm sure, based on how you configure it.
I'll share a little color on some of the things that I talked to the builder about on the difference between building to the RV standard versus the modular standard. So for those who don't know, the modular standard means that this can be, you could, like any building in California has to be built to the modular standard, right? So when Clever is building these that are not going to be modular ADs in California, they do not have to put in a heat pump water heater, which costs $5,000. They put in a $700 propane-based water heater. When it's being built as a RV, they can use. They don't have to put in solar. They don't have to put in the batteries. That adds $15,000 right there. You don't have to do that. You can just have an RV inlet on the house, basically. 50 amp inlet on the house. When it is being built as a RV, you could have a single vent stack that goes to the roof, which means you don't have to do a lot of complicated penetrations through the roof and complicated junctions with boots, that each of which cost quite a bit. So it not only is it expensive for all the parts and causes a lot of penetrations to build to the modular standard, but you also have to do, it also weakens the framing of the whole building because you have to put a lot more penetrations to a lot of the framing lumber. The bathrooms have to be designed a little bit differently, wider doorways. If you're building to modular standards, the toilets have to be configured in a slightly different way than you would do as an RV. All told, it adds, about $30,000 to meet the modular standard, even though from the consumer point of view, it adds zero value. Now, you could say like the solar panels add value, but from a functional point of view, like as somebody who's residing in it, just having to meet the modular standard without any tangible benefit adds like 30% of the overall construction cost for this exact same unit. So this is partially why I'm kind of like very interested in looking at these alternate building pathways that don't require you meeting the stick-built ICC, IRC standards that we're all kind of familiar with, and California goes even, is overzealous about building to.
Yeah, I will say there was like on the total bill of sale, there was $15,000 just to meet California standards for the module, above and beyond. So it'd be less expensive in another state.
Yeah.
But so this is different than I thought. I'm hearing you say there are different, they're built differently depending on whether the homeowner chooses modular or RV standard. I thought they were selling the same house.
They are built. So from the consumer point of view, you walk inside, it looks the exact same, but there's certain extra costs, such as the heat pump water heater. That's the easiest example.
But there are different.
You get hot water out your spigot. That's all you care about. But it's $700 to do it the easy way. That would be totally functional. Or $7,000 to do the heat pump waterway because there's zero emissions associated or lower emissions,
So
right?
you do have to choose a pathway straight up, because I thought mistakenly, I guess, with these, you could do an incremental approach.
No.
You could get the unit that meets the standard, then
This
put it
this
on the foundation.
if this was
So
just
that-
an RV, it could never have been a modular ADU, right?
Okay, so it can't be. You can't.
You'd have to.
Incrementally improve.
She opted to pay for the upgraded version such that it was future proofed as a modular ADU,
Okay.
but she used the regulatory loophole of calling it an RV to get it in here immediately.
Oh, thank you.
Instead of having to put it on a $20,000 foundation. If you built it as a modular ADU, that would also mean you'd have to do underground water, right, to the unit, which by the way would also mean you'd have to upsize the water meter coming to that, which would also add $10,000. You'd have to put in, might require a different type of septic connection, might require different type of electrical connections. There's all these like ancillary add-on costs that end up being triggered when you call it a modular ADU versus an RV, even though there's practically no difference from the consumer point of view.
Thanks.
We've just been joined by Norena Limon. She's our CEO.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much for allowing us to come here.
Do you want to go in?
Sure, can I? Did you all go?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Come on.
Yeah, so with the dual certification, I mean, it gets registered with the DMV, right, as an RV. And we wanted the flexibility to be able to reposition it because we weren't finalized on what the building plan is for the main home. So this gave us the best of both worlds. But if you know you wanted a modular only, it would have been cheaper just to go ahead and buy that infrastructure and pay for it, right? Because we put a lot of money into leveling the lot, bringing the gravel in, and then when we convert it to a modular, we'll have to have it jacked up, permanent foundation, all the stuff he just described. So you end up kind of double paying that way, but in our use case, it was the only way to go. Because we wanted to get her back on the property sooner rather than later.
Now, just as a counterpoint, counter narrative, like imagine she was in a position where she said, I really just want to have something I can live in on my property for the next 3 years, and then I want to build my primary house, want to move into it, don't want to have an ADU here. She would have bought the $79,000 RV that was perfectly comfortable, 200 square feet, and then primary house is built, sell the RV.
Sell it to another person who
And
wants to.
for $80,000, not lose any money.
Right, right.
So that's the other option had she not wanted to go about it this more, robust way.
100%.
But there's no way this could transform into a primary home.
If it had been no, this could be a primary home.
It could be a
Totally.
primary home.
Oh yeah.
5 years?
No,
Anytime.
are we correct? This could be. You could theoretically have classified this as the primary house because it's built to modular standards.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a
On
tiny
mimic
home. It
yourself.
qualifies as a home.
Yeah.
It really helps when someone knows what their priorities are,
Yes.
right? Especially in this kind of, the atmosphere that must have existed. Still exists for a lot of people, but had to exist.
Well, and this just took pressure off of us from a timeline perspective because, like most of our neighbors haven't even started yet with their reconstruction. He was on the ball, but as you can see, I mean, they're just now framing, right, and roofing. So, and most people, from my understanding, are taking the opportunity, I guess, not to build like for like, but then you've got the permitting issue, right? So if you're not building like for like, then you've got to go through the normal permitting process, and that could be 3 to 6 months. So even if we went down and started that process on Monday, we'd be 6 months away before we could even break ground on the reconstruction for the main house.
Where would you like this? I could come down through here?
Yeah, if you're comfortable doing it.
Dan, do you want to make any comment? I mean, like, for those who aren't familiar with this type of housing, we see a chassis below, right? And the chassis has a lot of embodied carbon energy. Do you want to make any comments about, like, the chassis changes that are coming, or the changes that are coming with the HUD code changes that are forthcoming?
Yeah, so it's really, Cole and I were talking earlier. There's a museum in Elkhart, Indiana, of all places, called the RV and Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame, where you can literally see the entire history from the first Model T, where someone decided to put a box in the back and use it as a camper, all the way up through larger and larger things, and then eventually you have mobile homes and manufactured homes, and kind of this whole lineage of movable housing in this country that led to manufactured housing under the HUD code. And we're anticipating there's going to be this big change this year where you're going to see the chassis requirement removed from the HUD code, which will basically mean that you have functionally a national a national code for modular that preempts all local building codes. And so it's usually, we talk about that as the virtue of how that kind of blurs the line in a good way between manufactured housing and modular, and gets rid of kind of this unnecessary vestige. But I think it's also interesting here where we are talking about some practical uses for that you do intend to move it eventually at some point to a different location, or when you were talking about the idea of doing an RV that you could then sell to a neighbor. So in general, it's kind of how can we take housing away from it, this kind of housing away from its history as mobile as an RV. But I think this is a good example of how there is still a continuing use case for movable homes in the 21st century.
Well, any other comments or questions from anybody for these folks while we're here?
Anything you would have done differently, or that you feel like you learned from, or that might help us to know in this process so far?
Well, maybe started sooner. There was a lot of analysis paralysis at first, and then there's also just navigating all of the bureaucracy around when could we take occupancy again, because until FEMA came in and declared it was safe, right, we had to wait for the Corps of Engineers to come in and clean everything up and take everything away. So yeah, I mean, if we had, I guess, a better timeline on when that was all going to be done by, we might have been able to get in the queue and get her out of the rental situation sooner. But like I said, we really got lucky that other people that were in the queue ahead of us gave up their spot for her. So that accelerated it, and we got it in last year, which was phenomenal.
So you've been through the heavy rains with this,
Yeah,
and it was good?
it was good.
Nice.
It's solid.
I'll just make one other, and this is for Anne's reference, I guess more than anybody. As our company, Tiny Hookups in Portland, we install hookups for clients. The majority of our clients so far have been 60 to 80-year-old women, single women. I don't know if there's any broad trends to be seen there, but that is actually who's living these things more than anybody else so far.
When I've called lots of tiny house on wheel builders, I mean, they say definitively single women are driving this. I mean,
older women.
because there's an interest in home ownership, and single women own homes at twice the rate of single men, because they want that kind of ability, if you will, that feather your nest kind of home ownership, and they don't have the economic means to get the land. So the only way to do it is kind of that bifurcation of looking at the tiny home version, where then they can rent land or move around. Usually, I don't think these things move, as we know, they're kind of hard to move around.
Yeah.
But that's a way then women can have home ownership. So it's definitely the driver.
And also, older women are adventurous and pioneering, and basically smarter. So.
Yes, and they have the
Thank you,
means
Celeste.
they have the cash in pocket to actually buy, because the loans can be so expensive then on the personal property rate.
While you're go down that channel a little bit, another thing to note is RV loans are chattel loans, not tethered to the value of the property. So it's a completely different form of financing altogether from conventional housing, which is
But there's
notable.
a bill in California to allow RVs like this to be real property. I haven't looked much into the bill yet.
Manufactured.
Is it manufactured?
Manufactured
Okay.
homes to have them more readily to real property.
That could make a big difference for your financing, yes?
Yeah. It's a complicated case. Yeah, one of those strange legacies again of how this kind of housing evolved.
Right, because it'd be nice, where you're looking at a, mortgage rate of 6 for real property, and you might be looking at, what, has anybody checked recently, now 10 or 12?
Yeah,
I mean, you might be looking at double for the chattel loan.
long.
So it's a huge difference in interest rates.
And from a rental perspective too, as an RV, you're able to depreciate this much more quickly. You can do it over a 7-year span versus a home would be like over a 30-year span.
So then that could help.
So that's the other advantage, yeah. And I've been told, I mean, I'm not a tax person, but I've been told you can like deduct up to like 50% the first year, right? So from a tax perspective, if you're taking a tax hit, from an investment perspective, you're better off with the RV because you can depreciate most of it that first year.
But that doesn't help low income people
Right.
who don't need tax breaks. That can help some
need
people
to
with some
build
income,
wealth,
but
yeah.
others not so much.
Great.
But if you're in a situation where someone else could purchase it for you and you rent it from them, they could depreciate it, right? So kind of like we're doing.
Right.
For a multi-generational strategy, I could see it'd be very helpful.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good point there that between family members that can benefit someone and maybe not so much.
All right, shall we let these two people get back to their lives?
Indeed. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, wonderful to see.
Can we take a picture with you all, or is that possible?
With everybody?
Yeah, let me get her.